Hi friends, welcome to this course, Python Primer from Zero to Coding with Google Gemini. In this session, we will try to cover the core foundational elements of the language. To call out the core language elements of the constructs are going to be mostly same across multiple languages. So if you are going to learn another language, you can look out for the same. Right? Okay, Python core language elements. Core language constructs. I've put seven here. However, there are lot many. These are like bare minimum and very foundational. And these are going to be same across multiple languages I mentioned earlier. Core language constructs. Variables are like containers that hold different types of data. If you are programming and you need to hold intermediary data, then these are the most fundamental ones that you will use to hold the data. Data types categorize the data into various types like numbers, text, logical values like true or false. In Python, we don't have date data type. In many languages, we have different type of numbers and we have date data types wherein they can specifically hold date. You can control the flow of the uh, program using conditional constructs like if statements. If statements let you execute code based on certain conditions. If name equal to something, if value equal to something. So if true, then do something else, do something else. If true, do something else. If true, do something else do else. Okay, things like that can be done in Python using conditional if statements. If you want to execute code repetitively or if you want to perform a task repetitively, then you can use loops. These are also control flow. You can control the number of times they execute or on a particular condition if they execute. While loop generally executes based on a condition, for loop is for a range of values. Very important aspect is data structures. Data structures are core and foundational in many programming languages, similarly in Python too. Data structures like lists are versatile containers to store and organize items. You can store multiple items and refer to them with a single name and then index. Then there are other types called tuples. These are similar to lists, but they are immutable. Once they are created, their values cannot be changed. Then you have key value pairs, which are called dictionaries, which are very useful if you want to refer to a value using its key, like employee ID for an employee name, like that. We have already spoke about several functions which are built into the Python standard library. We have used print function. There is a function length that can give you the length of a list, or you have input function that can receive values from end users. You have a type of function type, then open bracket, some value and close, which can tell you what kind of data that is coming in, so on and so forth. They're all built-in functions. But apart from that, developers can write their own functions in Python. Why are functions needed? If you have large chunk of code and if some code is repetitive, you can put them in functions. You can supply arguments to the function. Based on the argument, it is going to do different thing. Let's say you have a calculation and at different points in your code, you are using different values for the same calculation. What you are going to do is that you will create a function and you'll take those values as parameters, and at different points in your code you'll call them with different set of parameters. That's the functions. Modules, in different programming languages these have different names, uh, but yes, modules is most generic one. Modules are organized collection of related functions and variables. Take for example, you are writing a uh, inventory processing application, and you want to write logic, entire logic of reordering items in a module, and you can say reordering module or order processing module. That entire module will have only functionality of uh, order processing, and it can be reusable by other developers. Now, packages are nothing but they are hierarchical structures. We will be if you are going to do data science programming, if you are going to use Python for data science, you'll use several packages that might have been written by somebody else. If you want to read a CSV, you might use a certain package. If you want to export data to PDF, you might use a certain package written by somebody else. You'll include that package in your code and you'll execute it. Then exception handling. Every developer writes code with certain set of some a level of understanding of what could happen when some values are passed into the code, and the code performs in a predictable way. But just in case, if code is going to if it gives any error, to gracefully handle that error, as with other programming languages, Python also provides you exception handling mechanism. You can handle any unforeseen errors, unexpected conditions using exception handle in a graceful way. You can give your own custom message, right? Then there is no value to programming unless you are able to receive input from a source and output to a different source. Python provides the several options to get values into the program for Python code, and also output to different output sources, be it screen, be it an API that is giving JSON to its consumer. And when it comes to inputs, it could be a Windows screen wherein users can input the values, or it could be command line where Python can accept values through directly from command line or even as a argument. Then we have already spoke about standard library. Python has a very strong standard library which by default provides you with IO capabilities, that is ability to do file handling, command line arguments. If you want to convert a an object to string, like something coming in but you want to some data coming in but you want to construct that into a JSON object. Then handling data structures that we spoke already, like lists. If you have a large list of 10,000 items, then you want to um, pinpoint and go to a certain, or you want to know the length of the list, then all those functions that get those values come from standard library. Then string manipulation. If user is giving certain length of string, let's say you are accepting a username and you want to ensure that it should not be greater than 15 characters, you need string manipulation functions, right? So there you can rely on the Python standard library. Regular expressions, text encoding and decoding. mathematics and statistical functions, basic arithmetics, random number generations. If you want to dynamically create files with different names, then if for a simple networking like accepting web requests, HTTP requests, or making HTTP requests, sending emails like SMTP lib, etc., then you can use Python standard library. That's it. Now, let's look at some examples that will help us understand better the different scenarios where we will use these elements. I've already written some code to save time, right? Now let us see the first scenario. Okay, let us say you want to accept a username and you want to check for you want to have some your programming experience captured, then testing experience of that employee captured. I'm sorry, not user, an employee name, and then you want to calculate the total experience of that program employee. And let us say if the eligibility is 10 years, if you want to check if whatever given for that employee, if it exceeds or if it is equal to the eligibility experience, and then print a very simple statement: employee is eligible for this project, else employee is not eligible for this project. Here, this demonstrates variable declaration, assigning values to variable, two types. Here we have assigned string value, here we have assigned numeric value. Then arithmetic calculation with an operator plus here, programming experience plus text experience. Then an equation wherein you are moving the values from uh, right to left. Then again an initialization here with a default value. Then a conditional construct, a very simple conditional construct. Now, very importantly, friends, here there is a very important aspect of any programming language called syntax. Python is very flexible and English-like. However, like any other programming language, it has certain rules to be adhered. Those rules that we follow to write any code is called syntax of that programming language. Here, we are writing like English-like code if total experience greater than or equal to eligibility experience, and we are saying that here ends my if condition using a colon. And then similarly, we are saying here ends my else with a colon. Otherwise, Python is going to throw an error. You can try that when you try this simplest code. Another aspect that we need to know here is that Python is case sensitive. You cannot have an if statement starting with a capital I. These are keywords and these are predefined in this programming language. In other programming languages too, you have certain predefined words that are understood by the interpreter or compiler, and they are called keywords. You cannot use them. You cannot use them as a variable name, and also they have to be used as specified. In Python, they are used with lowercase if you cannot have capital I. So let us try and execute. This is simplest program and let us see how it runs. Now I am going to use the same syntax for brevity, right? I'm going to say Python scenario 1.py. Joe is eligible. Now why we got that probably predictable, because total experience of Joe is 10 plus 5, that is 15, and the eligibility experience is 10. So this if condition is satisfied here. Similarly, now let us look at next uh, example or next scenario. That is, in this case, let us accept, sorry, let me close that window. Let us accept the input from the end user. They're very simple again. We are using a standard library function called input. Few minutes back, I will explain about the built-in functions that are available in the library, and input is one such function. Let me caution you, friends, that this code right away is going to give an error, and that is very important, and we need to see that. The rest of the code is same as our scenario 1. Let me go to the command line and then command prompt, and let me execute this. Employee name, let me give a different name, John. Programming experience 10 years. Okay, testing experience 5 years. Oh, what happened here? Now it says type type error greater than or equal to not supposed to be between instances of string and int. That means when we are getting the values from the end user for int, right? So it is expecting that this value is to be converted to int, and it is not able to add them and put them into conversion and then finally do this total. I'm sorry. So it is not able to then compare these values as numeric values. Let us try an built-in function called int. Now we are saying int of whatever user is going to input. Similarly, I'm going to try here int of whatever user is going to give input, right? Let us, can we try this? Right, let's try this now and check if it works. Employee is John. I will say 10 years. Let me say 3 years. John is eligible for this project. Now we didn't get any error. Then let us give some values. Let's say now Axel. Okay. And let us say he has just 3 years in each. Remember, friends, we had 10 years. Now this is going to be 3 plus 3, 6. Axel is not eligible for this project. Logic, code, and flow is very simple. The key goal here is to understand the foundational elements that we discussed, which are core to the language. So, in short, we have seen the type conversion, how the data type is getting converted here. Now, Python is able to understand that the incoming data is textual, and we use a type conversion function called int here to convert. Now, when we are going to use generative AI with Google Gemini, these are the questions we are going to ask generative AI, since we already know what is going to happen here. All right, friends. Now let's move on to a uh, third example here. Now that is related to a different construct. Now that is list. So far we have seen single variables. We've been, give me a second, let me close this window. Right. Now we were looking at single variables. Let's say you want to store a list of values and refer to that the whole set of values, right? Then you can use what we call as list. This very simple example here deliberately kept it very rudimentary so that you can just experiment with it. Now Python, and you can say, sorry, list, right? List dot py, right? Now this is the beauty of Python. Python, if it is a different programming language, you had to probably loop through all and then print them. But here it gives you an option to print everything. I believe same is with JavaScript as well, but not in other high-level programming languages like C Sharp or Java or C++, right? Now you are able to. This is now you are able to print the contents of the fruit. But the key thing to note is we are able to refer it through a single name, right? Now let us try and see if there is a chance that we can uh, print a particular value within the list. Sorry, right? Let me save it. Go to the list and save. All right, you are able to refer using its ordinal position. But for those who are starting their programming for the very first time, please note that lists, arrays, dictionaries generally start with 0. That means apple will be 0, 1, and this will be 2, and this will be 3. So if the elements are 4, that means the ordinal position of the first one will be 0. So here, since we have given 2, 0, 1, 2, we have got banana, right? So we will move on to next example. Now it's about the loop, all right? The same one, this is again a very simple but very beautiful construct of Python. Here we have declared a list and passed values. We have initialized it with these values. Then we have written a for loop and we have used again a variable here. You don't need to explicitly declare this variable, okay? And use that variable here. That means when in for loop, what it does, it refers to each ordinal position when we run this. Like the name suggests, it's a fruit in the fruits, right? Let us see that. List underscore for underscore loop. So Python space list underscore for underscore loop dot py. Oh, I'm sorry. I seem to have given wrong name of the interpreter. Okay. It does the same thing, but it has picked up each element and it has. So now if you want to process the values in the in the list, then this would be your place wherein you can process each individual values. For folks who are going to go for data science, lists, dictionaries are going to be very, very important to understand. They are very fundamental and need to be learned. You can check out a lot of now you can go to generative AI and ask, hey, let's see one example here. Okay, this is Google Gemini. I've signed up with my username, right? And whatever I can simply give a prompt. Whatever we give here is called a prompt. Now, if you want to ask a question, you can simply ask a question. What is today's date? Right. So, similarly, you can ask a question like, how do I convert input from a user to string? Friends, remember we tried a similar example here wherein we have converted to int. But what we are asking this time is string, right? How do I convert input from user to string in Python? Just ask that question. Let me acknowledge that I'm not an expert in prompt engineering. Prompt engineering, it seems to be, in itself seems to be a vast area, and there seems to be plenty of courses spanning 6 to 7 weeks teaching folks about efficient prompt engineering. But I personally feel this level of prompt engineering is sufficient for a developer to proceed with their learning of any language. Now, here it has given a code. Now we know what this means. We know what this means because we already learned it or we understand it through our basics. We know what print will do, what type will do, right? Type is also a built-in function. We haven't learned. So now what are we going to do? We are going to ask once again Google Gemini that what is type that you used in the above code, right? It's going to tell you. Now you can keep it very succinct by saying, okay, just give me succinct answer or to the point, and it's going to do that. But otherwise, it's going to give you all this explanation. Data types in code. In the provided code, we primarily use string. This is the data type of input received from the user. The input function in Python 3 returns string by default. Int of integer, this is data type, is used when converting input string to an integer using int function. This we have already used, right? So it didn't give us any direct answer to type. Now that we know that type is a function, right? It is taking a value and accomplishing some task, and we have not written it. So let's ask, what does a type function do in Python? Because our prompt was probably confusing to Python, it didn't give a correct answer, right? Then, since we have now asked it a direct question by giving a hint. Now let us see what would be the output. The type function in Python is a built-in function that can returns type of an object, right? Here, the object is a string that we have passed earlier, right? Type of this string, user input, right? User input, we are getting from input function that we are passing to type function and then printing. Then prints the type. So what are we expecting? It is going to say it is of string type. We will experiment that, friends, but we will see just one more example as we are there. One more thing, while in Google Gemini, it can even point you to the article that it is referring to. So you can go and check that article in detail. All right, friends. Now let us ask, what is the function, or rather, I will say explicitly built-in function in a standard Python library. See, if you omit this and if you simply say Python also, it is going to give. But I am being very explicit. What is built-in function in standard Python library that can convert a given value to date? Yes, very important. See, converting values to dates in Python. The datetime module. See, here it is talking about a module. So this module is part of standard Python library. That means now our code has to get extended to include the module. That means when we are writing code, we have to get all the code of that module into our code and then use the functions available as part of that module. Now, this is a very beautiful example for us to experiment, right? This module might have more functions related to date time. So you can as well ask what are some additional date time date utility functions available as part of date time module, and you can experiment with those as well. Shall we try this? All right, let me open a notepad. You are welcome to use any editor, right? But since it will be faster for me, editor might take more memory. I'm just using. Now here, date has been supplied in certain format. Let us run two scenarios. Let us say, let us give name as date underscore, and we have a module also as an example, right? Module dot py. Friends, I have not looked at this scenario earlier before this class. That is the reason you can see that I don't have the ready-made code. So this is a live example of using Google Gemini, right? Now let's run this. And what does it return? All right. Now we are going to say Python um, date underscore module dot py. All right. It is going to print the value of date. We can see the format, that is 4y's, y, then and then dd, then hours, minutes, and seconds. So I would urge you to go and experiment to print the date in different formats. This is going to be beneficial for you. All right, friends. Now let us try one more uh, option here. Let us try say with slash, and let us see. This is the second example I was referring to. Oh, see, now the problem. The problem is it is expecting date in this format. And when we have given in this format, it has it is throwing an error, right? So that means if we are going to get an error, or if you are going to accept a date from the users, then you can see that there is a notation that has been followed when converting it. So that means we will have to change this to this notation when we change the format. Shall we try this and see? Right. Actually, we can do one more thing. This has worked, but let us say now you got an error. Let us revert this code. Right. Now we know that we'll get an error. Now I won't really suggest you doing this, but still let us see how far Gemini can help us in this scenario. Let us say you run it again, and you got an error. Value error does not match, right? You go back to Gemini, then you can copy this code and paste it here. See, I am getting the following error error when using the earlier example. Give it within double quotes. Let us say what remedy does it give. Now it says ensure your date string matches the format. See, it is telling you that it needs to match the format. So, friends, with little reading, okay, you can, or little introspection, or a little uh, diligence, we can figure out the errors also. Now, if you are going to take a shortcut and paste the entire code and paste the error, you may not really get good results. That is one example I can say of inefficient use of generative AI. Instead, do a learned use. Use it with knowledge, right? You already know the code. You already have are into the code and understand each line, and you are pinpointing where you are getting the error. Okay, then you are reading through the entire resolution steps. You are sure to get the resolution. Word of caution: if there is a version mismatch, okay, of the Python interpreter you are using and the one that Gemini understands, then there is very little chance that you can get up-to-date information. I'm not sure to what extent Gemini will be up to date, but that you may need to try and examine while working with Google Gemini. All right, friends. Now we have used little bit of Google Gemini to understand uh, how to declare a variable, how to do type conversion, how to understand some code, how to do a bug fix, right? Without Gemini, let us do some sort of comparison. And I deliberately have a scenario of syntax going wrong, right? Let us see that. All right. I think we looked at this one wherein we converted the code to int. Sorry for that. So this is something we have seen. Let's try the next one. That is uh, syntax error. Probably this one. Yeah, we have seen this as well, wherein we try to use a if with. Uh, okay, let us try this error and see. Okay, syntax underscore error dot py. Right, friends. Python paste syntax underscore error dot py. All right. Yep. See, it says invalid syntax. You all know why it is invalid syntax. You can as well now try and ask Gemini where the problem could be. This is line 11, right? It's clearly saying, okay, Python syntax error py. This is the line This is the command we have executed. This is the file, and the error is at line 11. Now let us click here and check. Yes, this is line 11. All right. So we'll go to Gemini and check. Right. I am trying to do a conditional check, right? That's what we are trying to do. We know that if is a conditional construct and you are doing a conditional check uh, using code, using rather Python code. Actually, if since this is a conversational AI, that means you are already in the chat. You are already conversed with this in this window with Google Gemini on a certain topic. It does understand the context. It does know that you are referring to Python code because you are within the context of Python. That means you already were discussing about the Python and it will think that this code is Python. Okay, then I'll give the code. However, I receive a syntax error. Uh, could you identify the issue? Right, let's ask. I might probably overdoing it. Okay, maybe you you may find much simpler prompts for this. Try it out. So it is actually saying the correct example is if. But one thing you must have observed, friends, that nowhere it said that the code is having if, that is with uppercase. Can you see this? Is correct. If total experience greater than or equal to eligibility experience is correct. But the one which we have supplied is capital. So there must be some prompt engineering technique to maintain uh, balance between our input and the way it validates. Maybe, but and here it identified incorrectly, right? It said indentation could be variable definition or data types. Maybe we can ask additional consideration if you are working with user input. You might need to convert. That's one part. Complete code snippet. It is asking for more code snippet. Would you like to share the rest of your code? That's what it is asking. But the resolution it gave is correct. It gave us the uppercase. In a scenario wherein we don't know that this has to be uppercase, I think it is highly unlikely that Gemini will be helpful. So maybe that's where our foundational knowledge might come to our rescue. So we have changed that in the past. We'll change it now, and we can try else, and this will work. Right. Employee is not defined. Oh, well, this is good. Friends, this is a different error now. Earlier it was at line 11. Now it is at line 12. That means we are done with fixing this. This typically is called debugging. You got a bug in the code, you got an error or fixing errors, right? Now you got employee, but it is not finding the employee. In in uh, in Python, typically you don't need to declare a variable. But then here in this case, Since you are concatenating strings, I should have explained this, friends, in the earlier example. When we write a code like this, we are actually concatenating the strings. That means we are saying concatenate this value in this variable with the value here, which is in double quotes, the strings, right? Now, what is happening here is that it is expecting a variable. We have an employee name, but we don't have an employee, right? So that's what interpreter couldn't find, right? Now let's run this. Oh, Joe is eligible for this project. It has run fine. So that was my last example, friends. In this was a video wherein we tried to cover as much as possible. We tried to cover core foundational elements of the programming language and a simple usage of generative AI using Google Gemini on uh, how to use our knowledge, foundational knowledge, to write a simple script or simple program. In my next video, I will probably take a different example and we will pose that question to Google Gemini and ask for a code, and we will see how how much correct code Google Gemini produces or how much assistance it can provide to us in generating code for our scenarios. Thanks, friends, and see you in the next video.